Thunder cracked across the dark sky as Mama Zina's sharp voice echoed through the halls. "How dare you leave the water pot half full, Tola? You want the whole family to starve." Her words cut like a blade, and the young wife trembled, clutching the basin as though it could shield her. Every corner of the house seemed alive with judgment, shadows moved like whispering spies, the walls seemed to lean in to witness her failure, and the flickering firelight made Mama Zina's glare feel almost supernatural. Tola's heart pounded with both fear and anger, but she dared not speak. Rumors had long whispered of Mama Zina's uncanny power to ruin anyone who crossed her. Some said she could summon misfortune with a look, and others whispered of strange charms hidden in her folds of clothing. That night, Tola prayed silently, hoping the spirits of the ancestors would protect her from the storm both outside and within the house. The next morning, the neighborhood buzzed with whispers. Tola walked quietly, carrying only what she could hold, her eyes red from tears and sleepless nights. Mama Zina stood at the doorway, arms folded, her face a mask of smug victory, as though she had already claimed another soul. But Tola's resolve had hardened. She left not just the house, but the invisible chains of fear that had bound her, stepping into the bright sun with a courage Mama Zina could not comprehend. Behind the closed door, Mama Zina muttered to herself, her voice low and dangerous, "No one will ever escape me. No one will ever defy me without paying the price." The air seemed to shiver around her words, as if the house itself waited to see who would challenge her next. When Kemi arrived, the air shifted. She was unlike any bride Mama Zina had ever seen, tall, confident, and with a fire that refused to be hidden. Mama Zina's eyes narrowed as Kemi laughed freely with her husband Neka, unafraid of her presence. The first clash came during the morning chores. "You must serve him first, Kemi." Mama Zina backed, but Kemi stood firm, her eyes steady. "I will serve him with love, but I am not afraid of you." A hush fell over the house as if the walls themselves held their breath. Kemi's refusal was more than defiance, it was a challenge to the invisible power Mama Zina had wielded for decades, and the old woman felt a cold shiver run down her spine, an unfamiliar feeling she had never experienced before, fear. Conflict erupted like wildfire. Kemi corrected the house staff when Mama Zina ordered them harshly, defended herself against public humiliation, and even mocked some of the petty rules with gentle laughter that cut deeper than insults. Neighbors gossiped, children whispered, and Mama Zina's anger simmered until it boiled over into threats of eviction. For the first time, Mama Zina faced a wife she could not bend. The once dominant mother-in-law began pacing her room at night, muttering charms she hadn't needed before, and glancing nervously at shadows that seemed to follow her wherever she went. The household, long ruled by fear, now vibrated with tension, as though destiny itself had begun a game Mama Zina could no longer control. Humiliated but not defeated, Mama Zina returned to her village, determined to find another daughter-in-law who would restore her authority. She visited distant towns and riverbanks, watching girls perform daily chores, listening to their parents boast of obedience and discipline. Then she saw Adoni, a young woman of quiet strength, eyes shining with intelligence, movements precise and graceful. Every gesture spoke of respect, humility, and self-control. Mama Zina's heart swelled with anticipation. At last, she thought, someone who will obey without question. But even as she praised the girl, there was a faint ripple of something unusual beneath Adoni's calm exterior, a hint of resolve that Mama Zina could not immediately read. Adoni's family prepared her for city life with diligence, teaching her the subtleties of household management, speech, and restraint. Mama Zina watched her closely, impressed as the girl bowed, served, and smiled with a softness that seemed designed to suit her heart. When Adoni moved to the city, Mama Zina believed she had won again. For weeks, everything ran smoothly, meals were perfect, the house spotless, and the once bitter staff bowed to her authority. But beneath the calm surface, Adoni observed, memorized, and quietly tested the limits of the household, her mind sharp and her intentions unreadable. Mama Zina's triumph was shadowed by a strange unease she could not name. At first, Adoni performed every task with meticulous care, speaking softly, laughing gently, and submitting to Mama Zina's instructions. Yet late at night, when the house was still, she began to assert herself. A mismanaged account here, a forgotten item there, small, careful challenges that forced Mama Zina to rely on Adoni rather than dominate her. Mama Zina's eyes narrowed. She sensed a cunning intelligence, a hidden force beneath the girl's soft voice. Adonis' presence became a test of patience, and for the first time, Mama Zina felt her control slip, her authority questioned by someone she had deemed weak. Adoni observed the household like a hawk, noticing patterns, weaknesses, and hidden fears. She treated Kemi with fairness and warmth, never revealing her private tactics. But when alone with Mama Zina, her demeanor changed subtly, a firmer tone, a decisive manner, a refusal to be intimidated. Mama Zina's heart pounded as though she were facing a spirit of old tales, a living reflection of her own cruelty. Sleep eluded her, and whispers of doubt filled her mind. The house had shifted from a realm of fear to a silent battlefield, and Mama Zina realized she had underestimated this new daughter-in-law. It began with small lessons, reminders of past behaviors and words that struck Mama Zina like echoes from the past. Adoni would confront her politely but firmly, mirroring the insults and manipulations Mama Zina had once used. "Do you think a mother-in-law should belittle her daughters-in-law?" she asked one evening, her voice calm but unwavering. Mama Zina's breath caught in her throat. The words were simple, yet they carried the weight of destiny, as if the universe had sent someone to reflect her actions back to her. That night, Mama Zina could not sleep. The shadows on the walls seemed to lean closer, whispering the names of every woman she had tormented. As days passed, the household watched this new rhythm of tension unfold. Adoni handled disputes, corrected mistakes, and reminded Mama Zina of rules of respect and fairness, all while maintaining her gentle facade before the other women. Kemi, initially wary, began to notice the pattern. Adoni was teaching, testing, and reshaping the environment in ways that forced Mama Zina to confront herself. The once feared tyrant now lived in quiet terror of her own reflection, a reflection in which past cruelty stared back unflinchingly. A strange magic seemed to hang over the house, an invisible force that whispered of justice, humility, and the turning of tables. One night, during a fierce storm, Mama Zina awoke to find the ancestral spirits of the village had appeared in dreams, reminding her of every harsh word, every tear she had caused. The winds rattled the windows like warning drums, and the firelight flickered, revealing faces she thought she had forgotten. Mama Zina shivered. The spirits whispered of balance, of the debt owed to those she had wronged. Adoni's quiet firmness had brought these memories to life. Fear now gripped Mama Zina, and for the first time, she understood the weight of her actions. The house was no longer hers to command through terror, it demanded respect, patience, and justice. By morning, the storm had passed, but the lessons remained. Adoni greeted Mama Zina with a serene smile, gentle yet unwavering, as if the girl knew the secret of the winds and the shadows. Mama Zina avoided her gaze, haunted by the quiet force she had unleashed within her own walls. Even the servants noticed a subtle change. No longer did they walk out of fear, now they moved with respect, responding to fairness rather than intimidation. The once unshakable mother-in-law felt herself crumbling in ways that were both terrifying and enlightening. It was a new kind of power, one that demanded introspection, not fear. The household equilibrium shifted one afternoon when Adoni organized a feast for both Kemi and Mama Zina. Every detail was perfect, yet Mama Zina felt uneasy, sensing an invisible test beneath the celebration. Adoni's eyes met hers, steady and calm, daring her to acknowledge the lessons she had imparted. The food, the laughter, the careful ordering of duties, all were a mirror to the harmony that could exist if Mama Zina embraced humility. But she bristled, tempted to revert to her old ways, to assert dominance and crush this subtle defiance before it became unmanageable. Yet the old ways no longer worked. Kemi, observing from the side, smiled quietly, recognizing the moment as the pivot in their household. Mama Zina's heart ached with both pride and shame. Adoni had orchestrated a delicate balance of challenge and care, forcing Mama Zina to confront the full spectrum of her past actions. That night, Mama Zina sat alone in her room, reflecting on every insult, every humiliation, and every act of cruelty. She realized that true authority was not earned through fear, but through understanding, respect, and moral courage. For the first time, Mama Zina felt ready to change. In the stillness of dawn, Mama Zina summoned Adoni to her room. Her voice was trembling, softer than it had ever been. "You have taught me more than anyone else ever could. I see now the pain I caused, and I cannot undo it, but I wish to make amends." Adoni listened quietly, her calm presence more powerful than any words of judgment. Mama Zina continued, recounting moments of cruelty, moments she had laughed at the suffering of others, moments she had believed her control was absolute. Each confession peeled away the layers of fear and pride that had ruled her heart for decades. Adoni responded with gentle understanding, not mockery. She explained that her actions had mirrored Mama Zina's own, designed not for revenge, but for teaching, reflection, and change. Kemi entered the room, standing beside Adoni, offering silent support. The room felt lighter, as if the shadows themselves had taken flight. Mama Zina's tears fell freely, mingling with relief, remorse, and the first true sense of forgiveness she had ever experienced. A new chapter had begun, not of dominance, but of respect, understanding, and the quiet power of moral transformation. From that day onward, the household shifted in tone and rhythm. Mama Zina no longer ruled through fear. Instead, she guided, mentored, and listened, learning patience from Adoni and humility from the consequences of her past. Kemi thrived, no longer under threat but nurtured in an environment of mutual respect. The servants felt safe, respected, and part of a community rather than mere extensions of authority. The house, once a place of terror, became a space of learning, laughter, and harmony. Even the neighbors remarked on the change, some skeptical at first, others curious about the invisible forces that had transformed Mama Zina. Adoni's methods had been subtle yet powerful. She had demonstrated that true strength lay not in cruelty, but in measured courage, intelligence, and moral insight. Mama Zina observed the household, amazed at how smoothly things functioned when respect guided every interaction. She began sharing her wisdom with other mothers in the village, warning them of the dangers of pride and the value of humility. Adoni remained a quiet force, ensuring that the lessons learned were remembered, and that no one in her new home would ever feel the fear she had once wielded as a weapon. Years passed, and the household flourished like a garden after a long drought. Mama Zina and Adoni developed a bond stronger than many mothers and daughters could claim. They laughed, shared stories, and worked together, each respecting the other's strengths and boundaries. Kemi and Neko's home became a place of peace, where the echoes of fear no longer lingered. The story of Mama Zina's transformation spread throughout the village, whispered as both a warning and an inspiration: pride can destroy, but humility and forgiveness restore. The final lesson of the tale was clear. Those who wield power through cruelty may find temporary victory, but only those who understand respect, empathy, and courage can truly govern hearts. Mama Zina, once feared and dreaded, now walked with serenity, guided by the wisdom of Adoni, who had quietly mirrored her past to illuminate a brighter path. And so, the household thrived, a living testament that every act of cruelty carries consequences, every lesson taught can heal, and true strength lies in the balance of firmness, kindness, and the courage to change.